Hey guys, how's it going? I know it's been a long time. I also think I said that in my last video, but hey, I'm back and I have a video for you today. So, the past couple weeks I spent on the San Juan Island in the state of Washington, and I was able to experiment with the time-lapse feature on this camera, the Panasonic G85. So I just wanted to share with you some of the settings I used, and I wanted to give you some tips on how to shoot time-lapses. So the first thing you do when you want to shoot any time-lapse is you want to shoot in all manual settings. So manual exposure, manual focus, and you also want a custom white balance. You don't want any auto settings, otherwise when your camera is taking pictures, you may notice slight differences in those pictures, and that could lead to like some flickering in your time-lapse. Also, you want to use a tripod because you're going to be shooting a bunch of clips over a certain duration of time. You want your camera to be absolutely steady. So I use the Joby Gorilla Pod. I really like this tripod because it's a great travel tripod. It's really small and compact. It has bendable legs where I can wrap it around any surface like a rock or a pole. For my time lapses, I actually just wrapped the tripod around a rock and it was super sturdy. Another nice feature about this tripod is it has a built-in ball head, so I could easily level my camera. Now for my settings, the first thing I did was I switched my camera to manual. I set my ISO to the lowest ISO possible so I could get the cleanest image. For the Panasonic G85, the lowest ISO is ISO 200. And the next thing I did was I set my shutter speed. So for this time lapse, I wanted to blur the water, so I wanted the slowest shutter speed possible. And unfortunately for the Panasonic G85, the slowest shutter speed during the time lapse mode is 1 second, which isn't too long at all. With the Panasonic G7, you can actually shoot at a shutter speed of all the way up to 60 seconds, which is awesome. I may have to try this out for a night lapse at some point. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do that. And then I had to adjust my aperture to get an evenly exposed image. Now the highest aperture on this camera is f/22, and even with that aperture, because I was shooting with such a slow shutter speed, my image was overexposed. So I had to apply a neutral density filter to the camera to reduce some of the light that was coming in. And with my neutral density filter, I was able to bring my aperture down to f/14. So now I had an evenly exposed image. The next thing that I did was I set a custom white balance. I set it to a temperature of 5700 Kelvin. Now for your white balance, you're basically going to adjust it appropriately to however you see is right for those conditions. I shot this time lapse with the Panasonic 12 to 35mm lens. I shot it at a focal length of 12mm just so that I could get the most in my field of view, and that was probably the most dramatic. Next, I switched my camera to manual focus, both on the camera and on the lens, and then I punched in manually and I focused my camera. Now all of my settings are set, and the last thing I needed to do was switch my camera to time-lapse mode, and I programmed my camera to shoot one picture every 5 seconds. And I shot my time-lapse from anywhere between 30 minutes and a couple hours. So if I wanted a longer time lapse, or if I had enough time to do it, I would shoot probably for a couple hours. Now in my next video, I'm going to show you how to take all of these pictures, import them to Final Cut Pro X, and create a time lapse. It's really easy and you can get it done within 5 minutes. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about how to shoot a time lapse, or any questions about this process, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you want to know any of the gear I used to shoot this time lapse, check out the description right down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.